Hello everyone and welcome back to Charlotte's Web. First off, a massive thank you for all the brilliant feedback after episode 1 with Abby Roberts. It's been amazing seeing your comments, messages and shares. My guests today are Steve James and his lovely wife Sue. Steve is the man behind Edge of the Matrix. You've probably seen him out on Britain streets with that unmistakable sandwich board, calling out what he calls the woke mind virus and war on reality, whilst challenging the ideology that's been creeping into our schools, workplaces and media. We'll be talking about where all of this started, why it isn't organic and what's really being taught to children that parents probably don't even realise. Sue and Steve will tell us about the last few years being activists and where it all started. So settle in, it's going to be honest, thought-provoking and maybe a little fiery. I'm Charlotte and this is Charlotte's Web.
The trans people don't have. You're saying trans rights are winning class. Pushing me out of the way. You're pushing me out of the way. Yes. I'm getting surrounded now. Right? Ow, get off me! Get off me! Ow! Did you see that? Just attacked him.
I believe our identity.
Hello and welcome both of you.
Hey, how are you doing, Charlotte?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. So, for those of the people in the audience who don't know who you both are, would you like to give us a little bit of an introduction?
Go on, you go first.
Well, we're Sue and Steve. Part of Steve's channel's Edge of the Matrix, but that's been quite recent with the stuff he's been doing, the transgender ideology. We've been active since the beginning of the COVID bullshit, basically. We've done lots of things, and I'm sure we'll get into most of it throughout the next hour. So,
yeah, like Sue said, during the COVID nonsense, we were quite vocal with saying what's going on, and that kind of died down. And I was onto this ideology before the COVID era. It's not something that I've just happened upon because of the Supreme Court ruling, and it's something that's just being talked about in the news now. I saw this creeping into the fire service when I was in there, quite a number, over a decade ago now. Now I don't have any paymasters. I can go out on the streets and I can say what I think without any repercussion. I can't be cancelled. I've not got a reputation to lose. So I see it as my duty now to go and wake up the public to the harms that this gender ideology is causing.
Amazing. The first time I saw that this was part of your plan, Steve, I did wonder how Sue was going to take it. No, because you didn't join him for many of the first few outings, did you, Sue?
no, I mean, I don't tend to go out with Steve because Steve, I don't know whether you've noticed, but he stays remarkably calm. And I don't think I'd be able to stay calm, to be fair, because even when he's playing the videos back and he's editing, I can feel myself getting really and shouting things at the laptop. So I think probably I'm best not getting too involved. And also standing around on the street, I don't think it would do my leg much good, would it?
Amazing. So I would like to start with where you think this actually all began. I know you said you saw it creeping into the fire service when you worked there. For the last few times I've talked about it, I always thought it started with this person. Around this time, I thought. So would this have been around maybe 8 years ago? The Kardashians were a huge TV show at the time, and it was chronicled, wasn't it? If you remember, Bruce Jenner, the stepfather of the Kardashian children, growing a bit of, his hair was growing longer, his nails were growing longer. Then all of a sudden, Call Me Caitlyn, he wins Woman of the Year as well. And it seems from that moment to me, a big explosion of nonsense.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was about the time when I saw it creeping into the fire service. But I'll tell you a little, and there has been like something like I think it's a 4 or 5,000% rise in the number of kids identifying as being trans over the last 10 years. So that kind of like coincides with when Bruce Jenner came out as Caitlyn. But they can trace it back a little bit further than that to like almost to the release of the iPhone and when kids were basically had the internet in the pocket. Okay, so this is, like I say, it's not an organic thing. It is a top-down thing, and it's very heavily influenced by social media. But before we move on, I just want to talk a little bit about Bruce Jenner there,
Yes.
because a lot of people might not know who he is and know certain details of the story. So he was you couldn't get a more macho man in the 1970s than Bruce Jenner. He was a gold medal winner in the 1976 Olympics for the decathlon, which is probably the most difficult of all Olympic events, because you do 10 different disciplines to it's the best of all those 10 disciplines combined that wins the gold medal. And he was a gold medalist for the USA in 1976. But there was an occasion where the internet was coming. There were webcams and things like that, and his daughter left the internet streaming live in her bedroom. And when the family went out, Bruce Jenner went into his daughter's bedroom, not his bedroom where his wife went to his daughter's bedroom, all right, rumbling round in a knicker drawer, and put his daughter's knickers on and was prancing around the bedroom, all right. And this was all being live streamed over the internet, all right. So his sexual fetish is either imagining himself as a woman or dressing up as a woman. There's a word for that, there's two words. He's either a fetishistic transvestite or he's an autogynephile, which means he gets his sexual fetish and his sexual kick is imagining himself or becoming a woman. So he was prancing about his daughter's bedroom in his daughter's knickers, and it gets, it gets transmitted across the internet to the world. So what's he going to do? How is he going to get around that? How is he going to argue that away? He'll just say, oh, well, I've always had this, I've always known inside that I really am a woman. Then all of a sudden, he goes from being a raging pervert to a victim. Oh, you poor man.
Applauded. Yeah.
It must be so difficult for you. Yeah. Right? So all of a sudden, I've always been a woman. Yeah, so he gets himself because if he really did think that, he would go through the full surgeries, wouldn't he? Right? All he's done, he's grown himself. He's either grown them by taking estrogen, or he's had implants and grown himself a set of tits. He hasn't had what they call a vaginoplasty, where basically you castrate yourself, turn your penis inside out, and you've got an open wound which you've got to dilate for the rest of your life. He hasn't gone that far. To me, I would suggest that the guy's a raging pervert or autogynephile.
Well, didn't he immediately start dating someone who was about 40 years younger than him as well? It was also
I don't know, because
I
haven't. I know the circumstances around him being exposed, but it's not so. Were he on the Kardashians or something like that?
Yeah, he was there. Yeah, he was there. He was married to their mother.
Oh, is that what it is? I don't, because I've never watched it. I've just.
It was around the time of me breaking out of Normiville, around this time. I do know some things. Yeah. Well, where do you think this is coming from? Where do you think it all started, and I guess why? Why has this been inflicted on everybody?
Right. So, where's it come from? I think there's a fundamental movement to disrupt Western society and cause chaos. Ultimately, you've got the big global organizations where it's coming from, through part of the Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations. Big companies and institutions have to have an ESG score, environmental, social, and governance. And part of that social is that they have to have policies on trans. How do you change a society without causing a revolution? and spilling blood. What you do is you infiltrate all the institutions of a state. It's called the Long March through the institutions. And what they do is they get into academia first, so they get into the universities and they get into the schools. Okay, and then it comes from critical theory and queer theory, which they're teaching in the universities. So if a young student goes to university and the lecturer at the university is teaching them all these ideologies, how could a student disbelieve a university lecturer? Because they think they're really aloof and clever because they're learning all this stuff. What everyday people going to work, your plumbers and your joiners and your bricklayers, they're all stupid. You know what I mean? I'm really clever because I'm learning all this stuff about life, what they don't know. And then these kids, and this is what's been pushed down, top down through all the institutions. I'll come on to who's doing that. But then what happens is these students then go into the workplace and they get into managerial positions, they get into HR positions, and then they start writing the policies for these organizations. And that's what happened in the fire service that I was in. And one day I turned up for work and there was a new appearance policy, and instead of it saying, oh, you need to iron your shirt, look smart, be clean shaven, polish your boots, your appearance policy was you can identify as whatever you like when you come to work. And if you're a man and you want to identify as the opposite gender, you can, and you can then occupy the spaces according to the gender of your choice. And I'm like, what the is going on here? You know what I mean? And this has all been pushed through. It was that crazy that nobody paid any attention to it because they just passed it off as being nonsense. But the people that were writing it were serious. You know, you have billionaire influencers like Jennifer Pritzker. Previously was it James or Jonathan? I can't remember now. And he's another one that likes to dress in his later years, likes to dress up as a woman. He's got all this money. So, just to normalize his fetish, he starts funding university courses on gender studies. His family are billionaires. They own the Hyatt hotel chain.
Right, yeah.
So that's one of them. There's another one called Martin Rothblatt, heavily invested in the medical, in the pharmaceutical industry, heavily invested in the technology industry. He wrote a book From Transgender to Transhuman, where you can see his videos online. Martin Rothblatt, he's got his hair long now and wears a dress, but he's he talks about how we can download your consciousness onto a server and you can live your life as whatever avatar you want, and there'll be no need for your body.
And you've got people like Peter Thiel,
Yeah,
the head of or some high ups place in Palantir, and is really advocating for this and really pushing this transgender to transhumanism ideology.
do you think it's also to do with mass confusion as well? You talk about the war on reality. I think it's all there's many layers, and
there are many layers. I mean, if you take what Stonewall and Mermaid and those sorts of charities achieved with homosexuality, gays, lesbians, giving them rights, etc., etc. I think that was seen, and obviously then Stonewall, not having any more money, grants coming through for the gay agenda, if you like, then started taking money for the transgender, and this is how it's managed to sort of seep in. And of course, they're lobbying governments and the NHS and places like that.
Yeah, because it's not just about a man thinking he's a woman, or you're having to go along with that. There's also the element of children thinking they're cats. You as a firefighter in your department might not have gone along with it, but you might have turned up to get a cat out of a tree and it was a little kid.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I mean, just going back to something that Steve said earlier, and the sustainability goals and things like that, and where all that comes from. We know for a fact that there is a push towards reducing the number of humans on the planet. We know there's a push towards, infertility and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
It's a perfect one. Splitting the family up is another one. It's a perfect scenario, isn't it?
There is what Sue mentioned there about splitting the family up. When I go out on the streets and speak to parents, they tell me their stories about how it split the family
It's
up.
horrific.
We've got friends who our friends have got a son in university, and he's just gone down the first step what they push these kids into to divide a wedge in the family. And so the kids come home and said, "Oh, I'm going to change my name. I want to be known as this now." You know, it's always one of these nondescript names, like
so it's quite exotic, isn't it?
Like Neo.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
But he's massively autistic, you know. He's
I was going to say,
influenced easily. Sorry, and he's got his new group of friends now who are obviously, all into this trans ideology, and the only way for him not to feel left out is to go along with it, and that's
the correlation between autism and the spectrum. It can't be ignored. It should be the main headline here, really, shouldn't it? In terms of the probability and likelihood, and do you come across that, Steve?
Yeah, quite a lot. I can't remember the statistics now, how many autistic kids went through the Tavistock clinic, but it was very, very high. And being out on the streets, I've come across many, many autistic kids and young adults who are identifying as trans. Many. I've lost count.
It's not even young kids and young adults. So is it? Sorry, kids and young adults. I mean, even older people. You can see. I mean, that guy that you encountered in London. He was older, in the red skirt, the lovely red skirt. He had a shaved head, and was insistent. Were you talking to me, Kelly J. Keane?
Right. So what threw me was you said London. Up in Newcastle it was.
Oh, I thought that.
Into women's spaces.
That's the one.
I use women loads.
You use women loads, right? So what do you identify as?
As a trans woman.
You identify as a trans woman.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're a man.
I'm not a man.
Okay, you've got the biology of a man. Okay, and you're going into female separated spaces. Yeah, so you're a predatory male.
And how am I abusing women?
Can I just tell you, as a woman, don't use women-only spaces, because you would make women and girls feel afraid. So you've heard it now. Don't use women-only spaces. Is that clear?
Yeah, I will just use a disabled toilet.
Yeah. Do you know when I first started speaking to him, I didn't realise. I only spoke to him for a short amount of time before Kelly J. Keane stepped in. And then as I realised just towards the end of when I was speaking to him, and then she started speaking to him, I realised that obviously there was something not quite right there.
Yeah.
And he said, you can see he was just reading a script, what he's embedded on his mind. He was saying all the things that he's read. It wasn't coming natural for him.
I wonder how long someone like him, because he wasn't a young man, was he really?
I suppose it was a bit difficult to tell because he was so big.
Yeah.
I
mean, Stu, you're pint size, aren't you? Imagine turning around and him being in a
it's the same with Kelly J. Keane. I mean, I think she's an inch taller than me. That's all, Yeah. But she's bloody feisty. But yeah, I mean, I suppose for me, I mean, I've always been a gobshite. You probably realise that, Charlotte. And I was much worse when I was younger.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I was in a nightclub or something like that, and I needed to go to the loo, I wouldn't have thought anything about going into the male toilets, or even going in the sink, if need be. But it was just, I don't know, it was all sort of behind doors then, wasn't it? It wasn't in your face. And that's the issue. Somebody who wants to dress up as a woman in their own room, or, a couple, whatever sex they are, wants to do what they do in their own bedroom, that's fine, isn't it?
Well,
when it comes out into the open and it's being pushed down your throat.
That's the thing. So people are being conditioned and trained in different, so in workplaces, for example, especially corporations, in certain industries, having different bits of training, but also once of a day, if somebody on your team or whatever has turned around and told everybody they're going to be a woman, the response that you're given back then is different to now. You have to be understanding. You've got to support it rather than going, "Oh, are you sure? Do you know you need to get some?" What do you think, Steve?
Well, all you've got to do is look at two cases in the NHS. You've got the Sandy Peggy case, where a male called himself Dr. Beth Upton decided all of a sudden that he was a woman and he wanted to go into the changing rooms and get changed. So obviously you've then got males in female spaces. What are his intentions? Then you look, as well as that case, you've got the Darlington nurses case, where you've got the other nurse that called himself Rose Henderson. All right, a big butch guy, basically grows his hair long, puts a dress on, and then gets access to these female-only spaces. This guy, when you listen to the testimonies of the nurses, this guy used to hang around in the changing rooms in his boxer shorts with big holes in them, saying to them, "When are you going to get changed? When are you going to get changed?" And the management policy was that, if, just like in the fire service, if you identify as the opposite gender, you can then go and use the facilities based on that gender. And they conflate gender and sex, because gender, they tell us, is a social construct which is made up. But what it does, it allows people to cross sex divided boundaries. So it's the golden ticket to the chocolate factory for predatory men. That's what it is.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would like to talk to you about this book next. So people may have seen you carry this around with you to spark conversations.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit more about it.
Well, actually, got
Funnily
a copy of it
enough.
there. Look.
Hey!
So this is a book called In My Daddy's Belly. Obviously, it's a kid's book. It's aimed at kids, right? And it's by somebody called Logan Brown. So Logan Brown is basically a woman that lives in Manchester, right? And she's taken a little bit of testosterone, grew a few whiskers, but then went off it because she wanted to get pregnant. So she then gets knocked up by her fetishistic boyfriend, who's a drag queen, apparently, according to the book, and then all of a sudden they're, this man, because that's how she identifies, is a woman. And because so-called gender is a social construct, if you say you're something, you become it. It's just that's how basic the ideology is. If you say you're a woman, you're a woman, even if you're not. If you say you're a man, you're a man. So all Logan Brown has to do is say I'm a man, and all of a sudden, she's a man. And when she goes to the NHS have to treat her as a man. And the NHS, they don't have to. The NHS policy, because the Long March through the institutions have put the policy writers who's gone through university into positions of power where they can write these policies. So they're treated like a man. It's just like, we kind of like, we look at kids that believe in Santa Claus and Christmas, and we go, oh, isn't it really cute that, they believe in Father Christmas, but it's all a big, it's all a big illusion. It's exactly the same, but adults are doing that.
Yeah,
they know that it's not right, but they've convinced themselves that it's true, and the more that they buy into it, the less they're going to say, hang on a minute, no, this is nonsense.
Is it mass formation psychosis for these people?
Yeah.
Or it's happened like that, hasn't it? In a lot of ways, the do-gooders of this world.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I see. on the streets. I see the young kids that dress alternatively, a bit like, you know, like goths would, all this metal shit and the septum nose piercing and
Blue hair.
the blue hair and all that lot. You get your trendy trans, you know what I mean? They're jumping on this trendy trans bandwagon. But so there's different people that identify as trans, you know. You've got the people that have had trauma. These are the ones that I see as victims. That, like, say, predominantly young girls going through puberty. They've got all this trauma, other mental health comorbidities. They're opting out of becoming a female because of the distress it's causing them, and they're the ones that are victims. All right, but then you've got and you've got your other trendy trans as well that want to, you know, that want a little bit of attention. But all these people have then, they might have gone through some conflict with their family or friends, okay, to get them to convince them to go along with the delusion. All right. So all these people have gone along with the delusion. So can you imagine a kid identifying as being trans? Okay. Some of the parents, you know, will actively support that. Some of them will have to go along with it because they don't want the relationship to be torn apart.
Yeah.
But then those parents will then go to the grandparents and say, listen, you know, little Julie is now little Johnny, right? And the parents will say, you have to believe this, because if you don't, you know, the worst case scenario, and this is what the psychotherapist said, if you don't, they'll commit suicide. Or if you don't, the parents might say to the grandparents, if you don't, you'll never see your grandson again, rather than a granddaughter. You'll never see this child again. So I come across these grandparents when I'm out on the streets, and rather than confide in me and tell me what's going on, the majority of them will see my sign which says there's no such thing as a transgender child, and they'll go crazy and start screaming and shouting at me. These are like, I would say 50, 60-year-old women.
Yeah, they've gone through 50 years knowing what biological sex is, and it's just insanity, isn't it? What? So back to the book. I have seen other books similar to that as well. I think there's a range. Are they in libraries and schools?
I don't know if they're on the national curriculum, but they're definitely in schools, and books like this are in schools, because I'm taking this anecdotal evidence of parents that come and tell me when I'm out on the streets. And I got told of this other one as well. I've got another one to show you. Now, for me, this is really sinister, you know. And if any parents are watching, find out if this is in your kids' library. Right, have you seen that one?
Right. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
It's Little Red Riding Dude instead of Little Red Riding Hood. So just to refresh people's memories about what Little Red Riding Hood was all about, it was all about teaching a child, okay, to trust your instincts, you know, and if something isn't right, you know, be wary of strangers. It basically, because she goes to grandma's house, the wolf has killed grandma, and it's a predatory man dressed up as grandma, okay, and Little Red Riding Hood's going, oh, what big hands you've got, you know, what big teeth you've got, you know, and it's teaching the kids to be wary of strangers. This book is doing the opposite. A little kid goes wandering, Little Red Riding Dude goes wandering off into the woods and finds this wolf dressed as this man in a dress. So that's your predatory man, you know, your autogynephile man dressed in a, you know, in a woman's clothing, and instead of being wary, it's telling the child to accept it. You know, it's so sinister.
A lot of nursery rhymes and stories back in the day were actually quite sinister, weren't they? But that's on another level.
But that's predatory. That's telling kids to let down the guard and, you know, go and cuddle up to a man in a dress.
Do we know who the author is and what the background?
I did look it up. The author's called Ollie Pike. So I don't know much about his background. I do remember looking, but my head's full of so much stuff now. I can only retain so much.
Well,
but
it's like that that female person in the NHS, was it? That's tried to get these badges for people to wear, saying "You're safe with me" or something.
Into the toilets.
Yeah,
You're safe with me in the toilets. You know.
What is it for patients to wear, for staff to wear?
No, she was involved. I can't remember the exact details now. She was involved in some children's roles or something, and she was identifying as a he.
Yeah.
And she thought it was a good idea for adult men to wear these badges saying "You're safe with me." You know, men in women's clothing, basically saying "You're safe with me." Oh my God! You know who?
Yeah, well,
I mean, mind will even think that that's a good idea.
The other thing I can't get made around the fact that there's, so if a man, say 10 plus years ago, if a man wanted to appear as a woman, why would he want to be called a woman, wouldn't he? But the label trans is being worn like a badge in a lot of ways too, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of you just got to go. I mean, I retweet a lot of stuff or repost a lot of stuff on X now. And there's an account called Redux, REDUXX, and they literally daily they're listing accounts of men who are identifying as females that are raging perverts. Let me just give you a statistic.
Yeah.
This was evidence given to a parliamentary committee, and they were trying to assess the amount of people in prisons, demographic of people in prisons that were in for sex offences. So with women, it was something like 3%. For men, it was 17.9% of prisoners were in for some kind of sex offence. For transgender women, so that's basically men who identify as women that are in prison, 60% are in for sex offences.
Wow.
60%, 3 times more than the normal male rate, and massively more than the females. And I even think those female figures are skewed because there are still men in prison that identify as women, and they're in women's prisons. So what happens is they will account for the statistics of females.
Is this in the UK or just everywhere?
That's the UK.
So there's still trans men in prison, women's prisons now.
In the UK, yes, there is.
Even though the Supreme Court ruling said what it said.
Yeah, 100%. And this is why there was a march in London. Is it 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah.
It was 2 weeks ago, and it was called 199 Days Later, and it's set up by various women's groups and organisations, and it was predominantly all women that were on the march, and we went down there to London. It was called 199 Days Later, and that day was 199 days since the Supreme Court ruling. And they're basically saying to the government, you need to enforce the law, because things like men in women's prisons still going on, men in women's sports, men in women's changing rooms. The institutions need to get their act into gear, and they're not.
It's not surprising either, is it? Things like that just cause further conflict. We're all conflicted enough as it is. Yeah. I mean, since all that as well, you've been involved in, you were at Graham Linehan's case, weren't you, outside the Royal Courts of Justice? Yeah, so I've been there twice. So the first time we went down there, and Graham grabbed my sign, and he wore that. So that I've learned a little bit now, because as you can see on that sign there, my YouTube channel is advertised at the bottom of the sign. That went viral all around the world, so I missed a trick there on that one. But it was brilliant. Graham grabbed that and put it on for the world's press to see. And he turned it round again, and the one on the other side said, "Keep men out of women's sports." Go on. No, you go. I was just going to say I met Sharon Davis there as well, so I had a picture with Sharon Davis. Oh, there you go. Hey, look what that was great to meet Sharon Davis. She was really nice to speak to. And then so Graham Linehan's trial was set for 2 days, and they run out of time, so they set it for another day, which was just 2.5 weeks ago now. Yeah, and when you go.
We haven't had the outcome of that yet, so everything's here. So we're getting a judgment on that. But he didn't turn up. He didn't have to turn up again. He could give evidence from a video link because, of course, he lives in Arizona now.
Mhm.
Basically, he's been cancelled. You know, because he were basically standing up for women's rights. He got cancelled, so he's trying to, you know, all his business and all his contacts just dried up. All the people within the industry just did not back him. You know, everybody that thought that he thought were friends just abandoned him. So yeah, he's gone to try and, you know, earn a living in Arizona in America.
Yeah, did he go with Andrew Doyle or something like that? Because he was.
Oh, I'm not sure. I don't know
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, because it was to start a new series, I think, and I'm sure Andrew Doyle
Is it?
might,
Oh, right,
might be the
okay.
writer. Because I think that's when Andrew Doyle stepped down from what was it called, Free Speech Central or whatever it was on GB
Was
News
it?
around the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, no, that's really interesting. And the thing is about the 2 weeks ago and the Graham Linehan case is that it was announced that police would stop investigating non-crime hate crimes.
Yeah.
As a result.
Yeah. Non-crime hate incidents. They call
Which is
them, don't they?
ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah. People thought Graham's trial was like just been
Sort of thrown out,
thrown out, but it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't. There were two separate incidents. He was flying in for the trial when the police arrested him in the airport for 3 tweets, basically saying, you know, if there's a man in the women's toilets and you everything else fails, just punch him in the balls.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's just crazy, isn't it?
It's the world.
It just is. It's just you don't know what's going to happen next, but we kind of all know where it's leading to, and these things kind of have to happen in order to get to the where it says on your t-shirt. So
yeah,
Had this one a while.
yeah.
I need to get some new ones actually.
I mean, it still works, so it's not outdated, is it? Yeah. I'm going to play a clip of one of your encounters, Steve, and I'd love you to comment on it. Okay. And then
not against Charlie Kirk being killed at all.
I'm not against fascists being killed.
Right. So
That's my ideology. That's where we stand.
Right. So you believe he was a fascist?
Yes, I do believe he was
and he deserved to die.
Not sure if he deserved to die, but I'm not sad that he died.
Yeah, but you were not against him being killed, so it was okay to kill him in your eyes.
Yeah.
Because of his beliefs.
Because of his beliefs, yeah.
It was okay to kill Charlie Kirk because of his beliefs.
Because of his fascist, dangerous beliefs.
Oh,
That's what we're up against.
What was she called again?
Grace.
Grace.
right. Yeah. I mean, walking past someone like that in the street, you would not be surprised at those views, would you?
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, I didn't just walk past her. She actually came and targeted me. So I was stood in this centre of York with my boards, just waiting for people to approach me like I do. And she comes over and she starts telling me there are people going into her cafe, which is an LGBTQ plus cafe, and they're feeling a bit shit about themselves and they're not feeling, you know, or they're feeling a little bit afraid or a little bit scared, a bit agitated because I'm out in York with my signs, right? And I thought, well, that's just a load of bullshit. Somebody's just gone and told her that I'm out there, so she's come out to say that. And then she proceeded to tell me, right, so I'm going to stay with you all day, and I'm going to warn people about what you're like and tell them all about you. And I'm going to speak to the street rangers, you know, these people with the uniforms on that are paid by the council to run around with the high vis. Yeah. You know, they've got no authority or power whatsoever, you know. But she told me that she tried to get them to remove me, but obviously they made the very best decision that they could that day by not coming over to me and just walking on. Because whenever they do that, they always make themselves look stupid, you know, and everything's recorded. They wouldn't even come over. But then she come over to me and said, I've got permission from the street rangers to follow you around.
I thought not really better to
I thought you should take a leaf out of the street rangers book and walk away. But she didn't.
She didn't. No.
And she didn't, and she came, and the more she opened her mouth, the more she dug a bigger hole for herself, the more she made herself look like the horrible person and the complete imbecile that she is. All right.
Brainwashed as well.
Yeah. I mean, most people will know that I'm not the original person that started doing this billboard stuff. It was Chris Elston, Billboard Chris from Canada. He's been doing this 5 years. I saw what he was doing and I liked what he was doing. I contacted him and said, I'm going to do what you're doing, Chris. I'm going to do it in the UK. What advice have you got? And he gave me 4 pieces of advice. And he said the first one was remain calm. That's where Sue has an issue. Right. The second one was know your stuff. When I started, I didn't really know my stuff. I knew a little bit. I know a lot more now. I don't know anywhere near as much as Chris does, but he's been doing this for 5 years. So there's a bit of catch up to be had there. But, you know, my knowledge base is building all the time. So it was remain calm, know your stuff, film everything, and let them speak. You know, and on that day, Grace was there, and I just let her speak. I'll just ask the odd question, an open question, and then I just shut up and let them talk. And because their ideology is so freaking beyond comprehension, it's absolutely absurd to anybody of sound mind. You know, just them speaking it. You know, but the problem is, or for them, is they're in this echo chamber and they talk about it and they all believe it. They all believe the madness. So it's normal for them to say it.
Well, one of the things I was going to say, one of the words that they always try and use as a rebuttal is, how about intersex people? Well, it's always the go-to, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what about intersex people, Steve?
So the thing is with intersex is it's a complete red herring because it's nothing to do with transgender whatsoever. You know, intersex is kind of like an umbrella term for a number of disorders of sexual development. Okay, so it's some kind of genetic deficiency that these people have. And these people deserve all the sympathy in the world, because to be born with one of these conditions can't be. Life's hard enough as it is. But they just use the intersex argument to say that that sex isn't binary, that there are more than one. There's more than one sex, and they say there's an infinite amount of genders, and then they try and differentiate between sex and gender. But then they conflate the two when it comes to crossing the sex-based boundaries. But none of them have researched any of the intersex conditions. So I've researched a handful of them, and it's quite easy for me to spiel that off. So soon as, they can make themselves look really stupid because they'll say, well, what about intersex? So I'll just say, tell me an intersex condition that you know of. And 99 times out of 100, they've no idea whatsoever. So then that gives me an opportunity to explain some of them out.
Yeah.
And then it makes them, they kind of like go back, and it makes them look a little bit silly. I can give you one or two of them if you want.
Well, is hermaphrodite one?
Hermaphrodite was again just an umbrella term that was used for a similar sort of thing. Do you know where the term hermaphrodite comes from?
No, I mean, I've not heard it for a very, very long time.
It comes from ancient Greek mythology.
Oh, yes.
And it was the liaison between Hermes and Aphrodite.
Right.
And they produced, and I say mythology, not ancient Greece itself. This is mythology. It's not real. So you had Hermes, you had Aphrodite. They came together and they produced Aphrodite, wasn't it? No, not Aphrodite. Hermes, something or other, and that's where the term hermaphrodite comes from. Yeah,
yeah.
I remember the name of it. Yeah,
I thought it was born with both organs. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, I did get messaged on. Well, actually, she left a comment. There's a lady left a comment on one of my posts on X, and she had a condition. Now, I read them and I haven't studied them, but there was a condition where she was called something like a true hermaphrodite. It's quite an awful case, really. but there's about 40 different disorders of sexual development.
Right.
One of them that I talk about, which I have looked into, is one called 5-ARD. It's 5-alpha reductase deficiency. And what that is some kind of enzyme which the fetus is missing. So when the fetus is in the womb, this enzyme is responsible for turning testosterone into something called dihydrotestosterone. Okay, long word there. And what dihydrotestosterone does, it forms the male genitalia whilst the baby's in utero. Okay, so
Yes.
if this enzyme is missing, the male genitalia is not formed, but the child, the fetus, is still male. So when once the mother gives birth to the child, the genitalia is ambiguous or predominantly female looking. So the baby is brought up as a female, but come the age of puberty, because the person has still got testicles, but they're hidden they're internalized in the abdomen. They get a rush of testosterone at puberty and then develop as a man.
Wow.
Okay.
You have learned a lot, haven't you, Steve?
Yeah. So there are two famous cases of this. People might look back to the Paris 2022 Olympics, was it? What was the Paris Olympics? Can't remember. The last Olympics, it was in Paris.
Yeah.
Because the boxer Amain Khalif, okay, Algerian boxer. So Amain Khalif was a man, not a woman, all right? But Amain Khalif did not identify as being trans, just, were just entered as a woman. But Amain Khalif had 5-ARD. So brought up as a girl until puberty hit and developed these male features, but continued to be brought up as a girl. Same with the South African runner, Caster Semenya. Okay, he's still classified. I think he's a man, but entered all the women's sports, won gold medals in middle distance running, and apparently is still officially classed as a woman. But I have heard rumours, but I can't confirm this, that he's fathered 2 children. It's crazy. There's certain parts of the world where it's quite common, and there's a saying, and I can't remember. I don't know the actual native word for it, but it translates to penis at 12.
Wow. Do you remember the lady Colin Campbell?
The name rings a bell.
Yeah, it's a bit of an aristocrat, and I think she authored some books. And she wasn't I'm a Celebrity years ago, back in the Normie days. And there was a very similar thing. I think she was born in Zimbabwe, I want to say, or something like that. She was raised as a bloke eventually, something very similar to that, and now as a
But
as a lady.
These females, they've been brought up as females, but they're actually males, are targeted in the sports world to bring them into women's sports.
Done on purpose, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let me tell you something important now about the intersex condition, because like I say, it's a red herring. It's nothing to do with trans, but what it does is the trans rights activists use intersex or disorders of sexual development to state that there are more than 2 sexes, that sex isn't binary.
Yes.
Now, sex is binary. You've only got male or female. There's nothing in between. So even if people have an intersex condition, they are still either male or female. And the thing that denotes whether that they're male or female is the type of reproductive system their body is designed to do. So is it designed to produce large gametes, which is ova, or small gametes, which is sperm? Okay, regardless of, and they'll say, well, what about people, that can't produce eggs, or what about people that can't produce sperm? It's what your body was designed to do, whether that works or not. because they'll say, okay, well, what about a woman that's had a hysterectomy? You know, they use so is she still a woman? So they'll use all these fucking stupid arguments to try and prove you wrong. But there has never, ever in the history of humankind been a person that's born that can produce both eggs and sperm. I mean, if they could, they'd be able to impregnate themselves, right? And it'd give a whole new meaning to go fuck yourself, wouldn't it?
And also, haven't you come across the fact that very good, that a lot of the terminologies also changed in order to qualify what a disorder is, etc.
Run that one by me again. I missed that one.
Sorry, no, because I've seen you on videos when you've been challenged and you've said that the terminology has changed to allow.
They changed certain words like disorder.
Yeah,
we used to use.
Yes, that's So they then say something like, you know, someone's suffering from gender dysphoria. Okay, a lot of them get it wrong and say gender dysmorphia, and it's dead easy to rip them apart then because they don't even know what they're talking about. So, because that normally refers to body dysmorphia, but the condition used to be called gender identity disorder, and it was listed in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. I have one here.
Hey,
From the American Psychiatric Association. Right,
it's about that thick.
Yeah, you look how thick it's a real thick book, right? Used to be gender identity disorder listed in that book. The thing is, this is a book listed of all these mental disorders, right? And basically, what that's been produced in association with the pharmaceutical industrial complex, big pharma, so that basically, if it's listed, it can be medicated, and if it's in that book, it can, you know, it's got a code for the insurance company, which you can put in a claim that the insurance company will pay out, so that they'll pay out for the pharmaceutical industry. It's a big revolving kind of door of money. They didn't want gender identity to be classed as a disorder because it sounds as if it's something that's wrong with you. And what they try and tell you that it's something innate within yourself as to how you were born. Okay, but they still wanted it to be able to be diagnosed so that they could get the insurance code, so that the insurance companies could pay out and they could medicate it. So what they cleverly did was lobby the American Psychiatric Association. This is the people that lobbied them was WPATH, the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, a bunch of activist cranks, basically, right? And they got it changed to gender dysphoria. So it's no longer a disorder. It is something that's innate within you, but it's still in the book, even though it's a book of disorders. It can still be medicated. It's still got an insurance code to be able to pay out, and the beat goes on and the money keeps rolling in.
Bloody hell. Yeah, just absolutely.
It's
mental asylum, isn't it?
Absolutely huge. Yeah, it blows my mind. It really
it's taken you over to America, hasn't it, recently, to the GenSpec conference?
That's right.
Absolutely. So if there's anybody that's watching this, and this is a real serious note, if anybody's, you know, parents have got children that are, you know, showing or saying they've got gender dysphoria, I would say your first point of contact would be Stella O'Malley, who's the founder of GenSpec.
I know Stella, yeah.
And you can find everything about GenSpec on their website, genspec.org. And they do a conference, a yearly conference, where they get everybody together. I call these the clever people, you know, all the academics and the psychotherapists and the lawyers that are fighting this, you know, on, you know, kind of like boardroom level, you know, they're fighting this at policy level. I fight this, you know, grassroots on the street. But I think it's when we fight it in a holistic way in all these different ways, you know, we can have a better impact. And so I knew that there was a conference from the GenSpec website, and it was in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So I thought I'd love to go over there. And because I've got a YouTube channel now and I've got a bit of a following, I just said, can I come over? you know, from the point of view that I'm going to be reporting on your conference. I want to interview people. Like, would it be okay to get a press pass to be able to come? And so surprisingly enough, once I got a reply from them, and they said, "Oh, Steve, of course you can have a press pass. We've been following what you do out on the streets, and you know, you align with our values. We'd love to have you over at the conference." So they gave me a press pass, which give me free entrance, and they also give Sue a discount for her ticket to get to the conference as well. So, I mean, it still cost us quite a bit of money because we had to fly all the way over to Albuquerque in New Mexico. But we decided while we're over there, we might as well have a bit of a break as well. So we had a couple of weeks break and holiday. But so it was kind of like a bit of a working holiday for the first part.
Yeah.
And people can see on my YouTube channel, they can see some of the interviews I've done with the people at the conference.
Amazing.
And then we had a couple of weeks, you know, but before, we don't really need to talk about the holiday, but the conference, you know, it really brought it home how seriously this ideology has impacted families over in America, because there were so many parents there whose families had been torn apart, hadn't they? And we were listening to their stories. It was heartbreaking. It really was. And there was also detransitioners there, young people, young kids that had been
brainwashed
into the ideology,
going through surgery and stuff like that.
And I spoke to them, and I interviewed some of them, and they're on the YouTube channel too.
Yeah, it's really important. I mean, it's brilliant that he went there, because the amount of people on the street who shout is spreading hate, etc. When you're actually more educated than them, you're trying to impart that knowledge, essentially, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, the slurs are meaningless now because they've been overused so much. Any phobe, you know, you transphobe, you homophobe, you Nazi, right wing, bigot, hateful. It's just like,
whatever,
you know.
Yeah. In fact, I've got a video, and you can maybe just explain. I haven't got too long, everybody. But I've just got a couple more things just got to go through. But this video, you can maybe just explain your thoughts after this happens.
I haven't touched you.
So what do you?
I haven't touched, have I?
So you've
I've got a lot of.
So you just damaged my property?
No. Oh, babe, it's just golden syrup. You can wash it off. It's all right. I'm so glad you were still here, by the way.
Right. Because you went away to get that.
Oh no, I haven't gone away. Oh no, I'm not from here. My friends.
No, so you just went to a shop and squirted me with that.
Yeah.
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 Do you want to wait around for the police to come?
Oh, because I assaulted you.
Yes.
Go on then.
What?
Love to hear it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've got a lot of people here.
Yeah?
I didn't touch him.
Okay.
I've never touched him.
You just did.
You don't.
You just squirted me.
What that is. Oh, you can empty the tree if you want.
Tell us what happened there, Steve.
So yeah, that was one of three accounts where I've been squirted with various types of food products. That was in Chester. That was probably the lesser of the three incidents, because that geezer there, I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. You know, afterwards, they all look very, very similar.
They do, don't they?
Yes. So they kind of know what to do. They try and push your buttons. He just squirted all over my sign at the back, and a bit of it went over me with golden syrup. But the timing could not have been any more perfect, because he did that, and that was almost virtually at the point where that video just went off. A police car just rolled past.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. So I ran up to the police car, and I said to the woman inside it, I said, "I've just been assaulted by this guy. Can you come out?" So she came out. She said, "Do you want to press charges?" I said, "Yeah." So basically, she put him in handcuffs. A big crowd had gathered by then, led him to the police van, put him in the back of the van, and as they put it in, the whole street erupted in cheers, clapping. And we got put in the back of the van.
Yeah.
I mean, that in fact, I've been attacked with food products 3 times. I thought there was 4, but someone came at me with a pair of scissors. But they're trying to cut the bungee cord on the 2 boards. But when you look up and you see these scissors coming down like that,
because you don't know what they're capable of, these people.
The geezer in a dress.
That was a bloke in a dress that did that with the scissors. Yeah.
I will find the clip from Brighton where you ran after the guy and who nicked your boards.
Yeah, so in Brighton, I got surrounded by Antifa. There was about 7 or 8 of them pushing me around, and I'm remaining calm. I mean, I don't get worked up too easily at all because of my jiu-jitsu. I get put, in very compromising positions, grappling and rolling around on the floor fighting with men like 3 or 4 times a week. So I'm used to close contact where it's very physical, and they were doing that to me. They were pushing me around and stuff, and it just didn't bother me. It didn't faze me at all. But then they covered me in syrup, not syrup, soup. Eventually, in fact, the big crowd that had gathered of members of the public were more distressed than I was at the way that they were treating me. And the police eventually turned up after numerous,
at least half an hour.
It was about
wasn't it?
20 minutes, half an hour. And I was saying to them, "Can you call the police?" They eventually came, and 2 of them got arrested. And then I walked back to my vehicle covered in soup, and I got followed by another one of these trans rights activists. He followed me more than half a mile down Brighton seafront, and then he stole my boards and ran off with them. Now he was like about 6'2" to 6'4". He was quite tall. I'm 5'5". And he just thought it'd be easy pickings, just to steal my stuff. And
You're quite unassuming, aren't you? Because they don't really know you are.
I told him it wouldn't be a good idea, and he said why not, and then I showed him why not. So just as he was running off, I tackled him to the floor, and proceeded to hold him down. And I tried to get the members of the public to call the police, but
they were on his side.
Yeah,
in Brighton,
Brighton. Anyway, he fucked around and found out, and I don't think he'd be doing that again. I got my boards back, and left him with a lot to think about.
You do a citizen's arrest often, and people don't really understand the law behind that, do they?
Yes, I can't remember what it was. So in Liverpool, when I got covered in hot chili sauce, I did a citizen. I got covered in hot chili sauce. I grabbed the woman. Again, she looked very much like that guy. Literally, same shape, carbon copy, but this time it was a woman in Liverpool. The guy on the video you just seen, that was a guy in Chester.
I think I got your soup clip. You keep talking over it though.
Yeah, that's it. Covered in it. Yeah. So I was covered in the hot chili sauce there.
Oh, that's chili sauce.
That was Bold Street in Liverpool. I was walking back. My boards are covered in them, and I'd citizens arrested the girl that did it. She smacked me in the face as well. So she covered me in the chili sauce, smacked me in the face.
I mean, it looks like you've been in a fight there.
Yeah, it looks like real blood, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the first time I'd actually been covered in food products. First time I'd been properly attacked.
I don't know what you must expect when he's coming home on a day after one of his trips. Though. Yeah. A lot of washing around lots of things.
let me just tell you about captured organisations and the police force. So Merseyside police have been holding and deliberating over this for months, because that happened in May, and I only just got the result of the person that I did the citizen's arrest against. She admitted it, and she covered me in hot chili sauce. And there's a precedent's case for this, where throwing chili sauce in somebody's face, or chili powder as it was, is it's proper assault. There's some kind of assault with a noxious substance, and that comes under that. Okay. But basically, Merseyside police just dismissed it as a conditional caution. So I got covered in chili sauce and smacked in the face as well.
If you'd done that the other way around,
so she smacked me in the face. Absolutely. So I'm basically, you have what's called a victim's right to review. So I'm going down that process, and another police officer not involved in the case is going to look at it. But here's the thing, that should have gone straight to the Crown Prosecution Service. What's happening is the police are now looking at cases, and the police are deciding whether the case is going to go to court or not. They're not supposed to do that. This is a way of them keeping their crime figures down.
Yeah. Is that part of one of the new bills, or just a...
I'm not quite sure what it is. But yeah, it went to what was called a police decision maker.
Okay. Yeah. So you're going to continue to do this for what, the foreseeable, Steve?
Yeah, as long I'm here now to. I mean, it's the current hot topic. I think we're winning the battle at the moment. The harms that it causes, we haven't really got into that too much. The harms that it actually causes these kids and into the surgeries and stuff like that. But it's horrific. I've seen the videos, I've seen the pictures, I've listened to the testimonies. So I'm going to keep doing this. And people are requesting me to go up and down the country. People love watching the videos as well. I'm trying to do it from an educational point of view, but of course, lots of people just want to watch it for the entertainment value when they see me getting covered in stuff. And that's fine. And I make the videos a little bit clickbaity as well. I put a hook at the front. I try and make the thumbnail clickbaity because it's a numbers game. The more the YouTube algorithm, the more the X algorithm spits this out onto people's feed, the more people are going to wake up.
Sure. Yeah. And that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Numbers game. So I'm going to keep doing
100%.
it. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep going up and down the country. There's many, many cities that people have requested me to go to. It's I've got the time to do it. I'm the ideal candidate to do it. I got early retirement from the fire service, and I've not got a reputation to lose. So I'm small, so people think they can come over and intimidate me. So I've got all the ingredients to make, to raise awareness and, make these videos that people are gonna watch, and they're gonna, see how bad this agenda is.
I absolutely love watching you, Steve. I really, really do. I mean, in another thing, you've got a lot of supporters who've come with you on some of the, I guess you've done some trans rights marches, haven't you, with some YouTubers, and there's so many YouTubers nowadays.
Yeah, there is, and all the auditors, they all have different modus operandi. There's a couple of them that I met, the Lesbian Cartel, which is Roshi and Kay, and English Ned. They've got their channels. English Ned's a channel, MKR TV is a channel, and My Breaks Don't Work is a channel. That's a Lesbian Cartel and English Ned. And when I went to the first trans rights protest. Right, and we'll talk about them if you want. I don't know if we've got time or not.
Well, we can go on for as long as you want.
They've got no rights. They've got there's no rights taken away from them what other people have. What I mean? They've got as many rights as we've got. They just want privileges. But I went on this protest, and I was the sole counter protester. I was the only person counter protesting about 400, or no, it's less than that, wasn't it? Maybe couple of hundred trans rights activists. But the other people were there were the YouTube auditors, and there was quite a lot of them. Mr. Menno was there as well.
Oh yes, I met him before.
And I met him for the first time. Billy Moore was there. Abandoned Landscapes. There was a few of them, but they kind of all look after each other, and particularly English Ned and the Lesbian Cartel, they were looking out for me that day. We've become friends, and we see them on various. Excuse me. We see them out on various protests now.
As a bit of a side note, I keep worrying about the amount of auditors there are, and whether this whole photons and you name it. I think I watched one of the anti-migrant hotel ones not so long back, and I thought the amount of YouTubers here outnumber the amount of protesters. And you think, are they going to push it too far soon?
Do you know what? No. Yeah, there is a lot of them, and each one, they generally auditors go to people to film and put cameras up towards them, don't they? My modus operandi is a bit different. I just wait for people to come to me, but I do think they can't ban filming in public, and because they've got all the CCTV cameras and the police film as well. So it would be so double standards. They can't do that. But I do think that the way it's going and the way incidents are happening because of some auditors and the way they operate, there might be a new law that's introduced. And I've been thinking about this. It could be something along the lines of filming with the intent to cause harassment, alarm and distress, because that's part of the public order offence if you cause harassment, alarm and distress. How do you prove that though? How do you prove that you're filming, with that intent?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? It's a bit not concerning, but is it the way it's heading? That someone's going to go too far and they will pull these.
I think some of them can be very aggressive, and maybe they just need to think about how they approach the stuff that they do. So, but anyway.
That leads us really well into my last little segment, where, because I've known you two for a while now, pre all the decision for you to do this, Steve. Met you at Freedom Festivals, and you two were instrumental in setting up one of the main rebellion groups, I guess, in the COVID era, weren't you, called Rebels on Roundabouts?
Yeah, there was us two and a group, and we're part of a group in Stockport.
It came about because we were protesting outside a vaccine, pop-up vaccine thing in Stockport. There was probably about 40 of us, something like that. And then a few of us decided we wanted to go to the pub. This was in early May 21. And it was when the pubs were still being arses, and you had to wear masks and stay, 10 foot apart and things like that. And you couldn't go and buy your beer at the bar. You had to wait to be served at your table. And we just got a bit pissed off. There's about 18 of us. We were going to eat in there, and we all walked out en masse. And we said, right, we want somewhere where we can, just all get together and do something. So that was the sort of first thing. And then we said, well, hang on a minute. We can turn this around. We can use it as like a way to protest, but also to pass messages on to the passing public. So we need somewhere visible. And
it's basically taking stand in the park.
Yeah, stand in the park,
which was hidden away in a park,
but bring it out
to
the open. And that's when we decided on the roundabout. And some months earlier, Steve had actually been on that roundabout, hadn't you? Yeah,
well, right at the beginning, in the darkest days of COVID, I was still in the fire service, but I wanted to spread the message that it was all bullshit, So I made some signs up, and I dressed in a Scooby-Doo costume and stood at the roundabout with all these signs. Did a little quick video of it, but just saying that, I can't even remember what the signs
said.
They
were just very homemade signs,
Homemade signs.
Well, it was 4 years ago, wasn't it? It was 4 and a half.
That was October 2020 that he did that.
Oh, nice. I've got a clip that you might know, that you might be aware of. So I'll just play that, and we can just have a look.
We are 4 years, pretty much to the day, since we set up in 2021. We sort of took the idea from stand in the park a little bit, but we wanted something a little bit more visible.
I worked it out. We've never missed a Friday. Done it every Friday since 4 years ago. So 208 times we've done this.
Really, it's a social thing, It's very therapeutic to come along, talk to like-minded people every Friday. There's hundreds and hundreds of people have been to this roundabout and stood with us.
We've developed a community, haven't we, here over the last 4 years, and it's grown.
Yeah, we met on the roundabout.
Yeah.
And we're still together after
3 years.
Yeah, 3 years, yeah.
So that's nice.
Meeting all these people that we weren't friends with 4 or 5 years ago. It's just amazing.
Do you know what? You're bang on.
I've made more friends in the last 3 or 4 years than I have in a lifetime.
It's barbecue in the summer months, and then when it starts getting dark and threatening, we go over to corned beef hash with dumplings and various things like that. The mainstream is still pushing narratives. They're still saying things, untruths. They're still omitting the truth, and we have to keep going. Wow, we do.
Amazing! I cut it short because it's quite long, but
it's
pretty much. Yeah. And that movement spread, didn't it?
Yeah, it was quite phenomenal, really. David Clues was instrumental in helping us to spread it, because he sort of got wind of us, and I said, did we go on his show? No,
he produced.
He didn't go. We didn't go. Yeah, he produced some yellow boards. So he'd sort of picked the yellow boards came from New Zealand. Because we started off with white boards with red and black writing on, and then we saw the yellow boards. Now David Clues had already. It produced a set of 10 boards that had like a specific message that you had to read in order, and we got a set of those, and then he showed our first video on. I think no, it was Phil from Oracle, wasn't it? He came over and he videoed us, and he showed that video on his UNN show, and literally the numbers just went zoomf. And we were like, oh my God. And then everybody around the country started, picking up on the idea, and it just spread around and it's amazing, and
did you get love and abuse at the same time? Love and abuse?
Yeah, I mean, we don't get much abuse these days. You do still get the occasional one, but we don't get that much abuse these days. We don't tend to get things thrown at us now.
There's been a great awakening of the public, and we've seen that in the amount of beeps that we do get. People know that there's something going on. People didn't have a clue. People trusted the government up until COVID. And
but
now they don't.
And getting, obviously it's an opportunity to get the light paper out, as you saw on the video there. We can we can use that as an opportunity. Light paper's been going 5 years now. I got involved with that right at the beginning in September 2020, and we've got those light papers out every single month since then.
Will you both be at the Christmas party of the light paper?
Yes, we are. I've got to get the tickets yet.
I got mine this week, so
yay! Right, we'll definitely come then, Charlotte. We'll definitely come.
Yay! Oh, this has been absolutely brilliant. I love you both to bits, and Steve, you've been doing some fantastic stuff. Thank you for coming on.
No, thank you for inviting us. It's brilliant.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Charlotte.
That's all right. I'm just going to finish with one thing that people might not know about you. So enjoy, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And Steve and Sue, I will see you soon.
Bye.
Got a call from a girl I wanna dig out. Hooked it up later as I hit the dope, thinking, will I live another 24? I gotta go, cause I got me a drop top, and if I hit the switch, I can make the ass drop. Had to stop at a red light, looking in my mirror, not a jacker in sight.